Hello, fellow saints, and we're just going to continue in part two of this video of how to find a church and what to do if you can't. And I'm just going to, finish off reading these points here. And this section is on what to do if you can't find a church. So we'll continue on bullet number 3. It says if your decision has been affected by point 1 and 2, then you are most likely now without a home church. It can cause an overwhelming sense of loss if you suddenly don't have a church to attend. But remember, you have the Lord and you have His Word. You are not alone. Here are a few practical ideas to help you. I know that feeling because I've been very, very frustrated on not finding a good, solid biblical church out here. And it's actually gotten me very frustrated to the point where I even consider starting just a home fellowship because um it's very frustrating. And if I'm sure maybe if you were in my situation as well, that you can't find a church, you know how frustrating it can be. And my advice to you, brother, sister, is just to pray to the Lord. um he'll eventually make clear what he wants you to do, and just keep praying. Paul tells us to pray without ceasing. Obviously, we need rest, but the idea is just to continue in prayer, not to stop in that sense, but to fellowship with God and seek His wisdom, and He'll make it clear to you what He wants you to do. Maybe you can start a home fellowship. But let's continue here. It says, for teaching sermons, if you have internet access, search out a few good live stream services that you can watch on Sunday mornings. If you don't have internet access, find out if a reputable ministry has a sermon lending library in the form of DVDs. For fellowship, pray and ask the Lord to bring you into contact with like-minded Christians living in your area where you can meet together on a regular basis. That's not always going to be easy because you might run across believers who are not going to be like-minded like you. It seems like a lot of Christians, I'm not saying all of them to generalize, but it seems like a lot are into that emergent church, seeker sensitive type churches. And it's just, it's just the end times that we're living in. You can use the Lighthouse Trails Facebook page or our blog to leave a comment about looking for fellowship in your region. Of course, before meeting with any stranger, choose a public place. Don't meet in dark alleys with someone you have never met. You might consider starting a discernment, quote unquote, study in your home or a restaurant or library auxiliary room. You may be able to let interested folks know about it through your local newspaper with a small ad or on a local community Facebook page. If it is just your spouse or family or a couple families, you can come together for a home, quote unquote, church service. And it says, where 2 or 3 are gathered, there I am in the midst, Matthew 18:20. By the way, that verse is often mishandled by believers. It's not that verse has nothing to do with the church. Where Jesus said, if where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am there in the midst of them. That's not referring to a local church because the church had not existed then when Jesus said that. He's just saying in general, when 2 or 3 believers or more are gathered, that Jesus Christ is there in the midst of them spiritually. That's not referring to a local church. And it says, pick up a few used hymnals from a local thrift store or the internet that you can use for your worship time. You can watch a sermon online and spend the time in the Word and prayer. If you can't find used hymnals per se in a second-hand store, I actually recommend buying hymnals on ChristianBook.com. There's a lot of hymnals there for a very, very cheap price. I've actually bought a couple hymnals. I have a total of 3 hymnals that I like, and they're really cheap. You can get one for like, usually they're like $8 or $7. So you can buy like maybe 10, and it's not really that much money. And it's very practical if you have a home fellowship, because everybody just, you don't need really instruments unless someone plays the instrument, but everybody can sing in, and you don't need to set up how you would go to a chapel, set up PowerPoints, set up a bunch of equipment. You can just, everybody can use a hymnal and sing, and it's just very practical that way. It just makes sense to do it that way. And maybe someone plays a tambourine or something, or whatever. And I'll just continue reading here. It says, while not having a church to belong to is not the ideal situation, we are living in a time of great spiritual delusion described in the Bible. I would agree. In our human nature, it feels safe, quote unquote, to be in a large group surrounded by others. But in comparison to the 2,000-year history of the true church, what we have in North America today with an abundance of churches is not the norm. The norm for the church has been persecution, isolation, imprisonment, and believers secretly meeting in homes or elsewhere. Just read Georgie Vinn's book, The Gospel in Bonds, to see this. We're quickly approaching a time in North America and throughout the Western world where it will not only be unpopular to be a Bible-believing Christian, it will be illegal. Meanwhile, in apostate, quote-unquote, Christianity is gathering momentum where the foundations are being destroyed while outwardly everything may appear to be normal. In closing, keep in mind that God intended the church to be a place for building up the body of Christ and not for tearing it down. You are not alone if you are at loss for a good fellowship. In this booklet, we have offered some practical advice on how to find it, but in our day, we must each seek the Lord and how we can best do that, and I agree. I couldn't agree more. And that's just the unfortunate situation with many believers, and hopefully these, suggestions from these Lighthouse Trails publishing editors may have been a help to you. My suggestion is, if you can't find a good local church, if you haven't tried, I would suggest first looking at the churches in your area within maybe 20 miles. If you can't do it if you don't find anything within 20 miles, then kind of expand that range and look for maybe 50 miles, and you still can't find anything, then I would suggest, as they said here, just to start a home fellowship. And you can listen to if you play the video back, you can listen to the part where I was reading what they suggested on a home fellowship. And you can gather like-minded believers if you can, get buy some hymnals for worship, have a time for fellowship or a Bible study, and then supplement that as well with great teaching by great pastors online. You can go on YouTube, and you can find good preachers online where you can hear their sermons and you can grow. You guys can all watch it, and try to keep the home fellowship small, not to be like 20 people in a house, but try to keep it maybe below 10, or maybe like 8 or 10 people, or even 12. Because when it gets too big, then not everyone's going to participate, and it's just going to be a hassle. And it's just better for the group to stay small. And that's just the unfortunate thing that we have today, is where, many churches are not, are trying to become seeker sensitive. The emergent church, they're trying to follow the emergent movement, and but maybe right now you're in a church where, you may not fully agree with everything. Maybe, I don't know if the church you're in now is going to the emergent side, or embracing like teachers like Rick Warren or the NAR movement or the Word of Faith movement, all these type of movements that are not really biblical. Maybe you could talk to the leadership there, the elders, and whoever it is, and you can, tell them and show them where they're wrong. And if they listen to you, that's great. You can buy more of the. Maybe you can buy some of these booklets. If they don't really want to listen to you, and even after you've tried, then I suggest that you just leave that church and find another church if you can. If not, just try the home fellowship. And like I said, I've considered doing a home fellowship just because it's been so difficult to find a church out here, and it's very, very frustrating because you want to fellowship with believers. It's something we desire as believers, that we want to fellowship, but unfortunately this we're living in the end times, and it's just going to get worse and worse. And it might even come to the point where it gets so bad that there's no local church we can go to, where it's an established local church, that we have to just resort to starting home fellowships. And hopefully this booklet was a big help. You can pick it up at Lighthouse Trails publication. Very, very short little booklet. And they do have quantity discounts if you want to buy it. It's $1.95 for one. Or if you buy more than that, the discount it starts to go more down. So the price of the booklet goes down as you buy more. And they have a bunch of booklets on like literally not every topic, but mostly dealing with exposing the New Age, NAR, Bethel Church. And you should check out their material. They have topical little booklets like this that you can buy, and maybe you can hand out to other believers. This is a good booklet for you if you want to just check it out. I didn't read the whole thing just because I don't have the time. But if you want to check it out, you can buy this little booklet, and it will definitely help you. I mean, there's things here I didn't even know or even would have never thought of asking for a new local church. So thank you for listening, and stay well, and remember to pray to the Lord for this matter. If you're in a situation right now where you can't find a church, pray about it. Seek the Lord, seek His wisdom, and He'll make it clear to you. He will make it clear to you. And just know that you're not the only believer. I'm in that boat myself, so I know how frustrating that can be. So thank you, brethren. You guys stay well. Blessings to all, and God bless you.